name is Trinity, and if you are here, you're here to talk about books because that's why I'm here, to talk about books. And today, you might notice something is missing. So, this week when I went to do my vlogs, they were very boring. I didn't like any of them, and usually I just give updates in my vlogs, but I don't know what was going on this last week. Reading wise, it wasn't a great week. TBR 10 wise, it wasn't a great week. And so I think the vlogs were just reflecting that I was starting to fall into a sense of ennui just with everything that didn't happen this last week. So I know that part of my issues with this last week were it was my dad's birthday, and my dad passed away a couple years ago. So when that day rolled around, I kind of just didn't want to do anything and have had some just general meh feelings about this last week. And again, it was probably due to that, but also, this whole pandemic thing I keep having ups and downs with it emotionally, so who knows. But again, my vlogs were not great, pretty boring, and so I cut them for this week, but that is going to give me a little bit more time to talk to you guys about the books that I did or didn't read this week for the TBR 10. Okay, so getting into the TBR 10 and what I tackled this week, I want to start with my 2 DNFs. And I want to go into these saying that these were 2 of my bottom rated books in my January TBR. So I did know going into these that not a lot of people really enjoyed them, but I do have a tendency to like things that other people don't like, so not always put off just by a low rating on Goodreads. And the first one I want to talk about is 77 Shadow Street by Dean Koontz. So this book starts off with one of my absolute worst pet peeves, where we shift perspectives so often that I have no idea what's going on. And it drove me nuts to the point that I was 50 pages into this and put it down. I couldn't read anymore. It was driving me nuts. And I have a feeling that that is probably why this is so low rated, because that's not something that Dean Koontz is known to do. But it didn't work out for me. I have no intention of reading this in the future, so I am going to unhaul this. Now, for the second book that I tackled for my TBR 10, Margaret Stoll's Icons. Now, for this one, I don't know why I couldn't connect with this book. I got about 100 pages into it and I just wasn't enjoying it, and I don't know why. So, I'm not a huge fan of mixed media. Now, there are some books that I have read in the past. I did finish Where They Found Her, and those are mixed media. I have another one coming up that is also semi-mixed media. And I couldn't get into this. I was not connected to the characters. I didn't care about the icons. Like, there were big events happening, and I couldn't bring myself to actually care. And so I ended up DNFing this one, and I think I'm going to go ahead and unhaul it because, one, it is a young adult and I have not been connecting with young adult lately. There are exceptions to that. But this is also young adult dystopian, and I've had a huge problem with young adult dystopian. So I don't know why I didn't like this one, but I really just zoned out half the time that I was reading it. So I am going to go ahead and unhaul this one as well. Now, let's get to the TBR 10 book that I thoroughly enjoyed, that I gave a 4.5 stars to. That would be The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter by Theodore Goss. I don't know what I expected going into this book, but that's definitely not what I got. So we have the daughters of classic book characters going on a journey to find Hyde. And they are pursuing Hyde, but also they have come across this society who does experiments on their daughters. So all of the daughters of these infamous characters have joined forces to do something. We're not quite sure what that something is yet. And the Alchemist's daughter would be Dr. Jekyll's daughter. We have Frankenstein's daughter. We have Hyde's daughter. We have Rappaccini's daughter and Moreau's daughter. And their stories come together to make this story. And I absolutely adored it. Now, I'm going to look for a part and try not to spoil things, just to show you what I'm talking about with the mixed media. You have parts where the girls interrupt the story. They just pop in, and it is kind of like text message format where they're interrupting the story and saying, no, that's not the way it went. Or, well, what did you expect? Because this is my personality. You know, very cute interruptions throughout. And I thoroughly enjoyed that part of this book. And it really connects you with the characters. It really connects you to the story. How often do you get side characters jumping in and saying, it didn't go quite that way? So I really thought that this was a fun, amazing little book. And I can't wait to continue this series. I know that there are 2 more in existence, and so I can't wait to get my hands on them. And this is probably going to, I don't know if it'll make my top 10 favorite series, but this is going to be one that I recommend quite often. Okay, and so the another book on my TBR 10 that I do want to talk about is The Diabolic. So I tried downloading the audio for this, but for some reason, Scribd was not cooperating with me and it said no. And so I didn't get a chance to get around to this one. I'll probably have to read it physically, so it'll be coming up later in the month, but I do plan to still read this one. It was not a DNF. It was a, well, I guess I'm not reading that right now. And then let's go ahead and talk about the book that I finished that was not on the TBR 10, which was a reread of The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Mistborn trilogy. I loved it. This was probably one of my best rereads of all time. Now, I haven't gone back and reread the Draconis Memoria yet, but this is my first reread of Mistborn too. But I have not had a more satisfying reread than I have with reading this book, The Final Empire. Kelsier, I adore Kelsier. I adore Ven. And If you guys don't know what this is about, it's what if the Dark Lord won? And what would the world look like? What could you do to face the Dark Lord if they did win? And Vin and Kelsier do their best to answer that question. And I love this trilogy so much. And now, if you guys want to know why this hasn't made a top 10 of mine, I do address that in an earlier vlog, so you guys can go back and watch the last vlog. But I absolutely love Mistborn, and this was the greatest reread that I have had ever. Okay, now on to the books that I am currently reading, and the one that I had got approval from, got the release from my library, would be The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I have started it. I'm about 30% into it. It is really good. It's not the era that I really like. It's about the Great Depression, so it's a little bit out of my realm of things that I enjoy reading, but it is good. It is very good. And there's a lot of stuff that it addresses that it's not my favorite, but I do love Kristen Hanna's writing, and so far the story is very good. I don't think it'll be a favorite of mine, but we shall see. Now for the TBR 10 that I am currently reading. I have started The Fire Sermon by Francesca Haig. So far I'm enjoying it. Not that far into it, but I do like the whole Alpha and Omega aspect, as I thought that I would. And already some very interesting things are going on. So I do think that I will like this one, but again, I'm not very far into it. And this week I will be picking up Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. You guys know how excited I am for this, so I don't think much more needs to be said about that. And now that Mistborn is finally read, completed, I am going to be picking up Valor again. I'm going to start over because I don't remember what happened in the first 230 pages. So I will be starting over. I will be vlogging my reading of this, and we shall see how it goes. I really think I'm gonna like it. It's just my brain decided to stop working, so I'll finish it. And that leaves only one that I haven't got to yet on my TBR 10, and that would be The House of Velvet and Glass by Catherine Howe. I do plan to pick it up, so I don't know if it's going to be next week or not. It depends on how long it takes me to get through the ones that I am currently reading. But like, subscribe, do all the fun things, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!